Hey guys, Michael here from Fat to Fit. So in today's video I am talking about binge eating. Now I have had quite a few good binges in my time, but that's a topic for a whole other video. What I wanted to talk about in terms of binging today is what you could do after you have a binge, pretty much. And I'm going to give you 3 main points or 3 main steps on what to do with that. Now, for those of you out there who don't know what a binge is, so a binge is basically when you normally go all out and you just eat as much as you can, often until you feel sick or even puking in some cases. But it's normally, in my case anyway, I never puked from it, but in my case it was as a result of pretty much almost starving yourself, not eating enough while you're losing weight, which is when a lot of people binge eat, besides having an eating disorder or for emotional purposes. But that is normally when somebody does tend to binge eat, and it can be a problem, but most people get over it. So what I want to do is to give some tips to help with what you do after a binge, because some people do things that only make it worse when there are a few things you can do to make it better. So number 1, my first tip is do not skip eating the next day. So what happens normally is you have a binge, you eat, you fill yourself up till you can't eat no more, and then what happens usually is the next day people just don't eat anything because they feel guilty, they feel sad, they feel bad for all they ate yesterday, they don't want to gain weight, and so they just don't eat anything. Now that is one of the worst things you can do, because all that is going to do is it's going to extend those feelings. You're going to keep feeling guilty, you're going to keep feeling sad, you're going to feel hungry all day on top of that, and then you're most likely just going to binge again because you're still having those feelings. So that's why that's bad. What you need to do is you just need to eat like you normally would. You eat the same amount as you would do on a regular day before your binge. That's all you have to do. You are going to gain weight, you have to realize this. It's going to be mostly water weight and a little bit of fat, but you are going to gain weight regardless if you starve yourself or you eat normally anyway. You're still going to gain a bit of weight because that's what happens after a binge. But you have to get back into that mental state of eating normally and forgetting about the binge, because if you keep going on, like if you keep going over it in your head over and over again, you're just more likely to binge again a lot sooner, and that is something you definitely do not want to do. So eat normally the next day, don't starve yourself. If you starve yourself, you're going to feel hungry, and then you're probably just going to binge again the next night or the next day, which is something you don't want to be creating, that vicious cycle of binging. Tip number 2. Now, because you've gone on a binge, you've eaten probably a lot of high salt foods high in salt, sugar, so a lot of junk food, chocolate, chips, you name it. But what you need to realize is that with all this, you're gonna have a high salt intake. And what this is gonna do is this is gonna raise your body weight in terms of water. So what I'd recommend to actually counteract the effects of gaining water weight is drink plenty of water, because what happens is as you drink the water, it's going to flush the sodium out of your system. You're going to excrete the sodium a lot easier and a lot better, and within a few days your weight will most likely return to normal. And that's what normally happens after a binge. Keep in mind, you have to eat a high amount of calories to gain any weight, like in terms of fat, not water weight. I'm talking about actual fat. I think it's something like, to gain a kilo of fat you need to consume 7,000 calories over what you would normally need to consume. So if you're consuming around 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day, you'd need to consume almost 10,000 calories to gain a kilo of fat. Well, almost a kilo, roughly. I'm just spitting out numbers here. It's not exact, but you get what I mean. You will gain some fat depending on how much you eat. Now, it is really hard to binge and reach 10,000 calories. Look at all the 10,000 calorie challenge videos out there. It is super hard to reach that amount. Don't take that as a challenge, but it is really hard. So most likely you haven't eaten that much. So back again with the drinking the water, flushing out the sodium, your water weight will drop off in a few days. biggest thing is do not look at the scale, because that will mess you up so much mentally. Definitely do not look at it the day after the binge, because it's just going to be weight. And even a few days after that, your weight's just going to be fluctuating with all the water weight and the sodium. So drink plenty of water to flush it out. Now the third point, and probably one of the most important points, is you need to learn to leave it in the past. Now, what I mean by that is, with a binge, binging is normally a physical response to like starving yourself or something like that. But when I think of binging, I think it is a lot more mental than physical. You binge because you're starving yourself. You're restricting your calories. You're restricting what you can and can't eat. And that weighs down on you mentally, especially if you've been doing it for months and months at a time, saying, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, I'm gonna gain fat, I'm gonna gain weight, and I'm gonna be obese again. So you have to, once you binge, try to get back to as normal as possible, a routine as you can, and forget about it in the past. That happened yesterday. Yes, you need to accept that happened. And now that it's the next day, you need to move on and just try not to let it happen again. We're only human. We're gonna stuff up every now and then. I have in the past. I know many of you have as well. It's just a part of life. It's a part of your weight loss journey, that roller coaster going up and down, up and down. But in the end, as long as you keep your goals in mind and you stick with what you're doing, your weight loss will be successful, and you probably won't binge again or often. And I know I haven't in a long time. So you just need to accept it and leave it in the past. Anyway, that's going to be the end of this video. It was a bit of a longer one, but I thought it was an important topic to discuss. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below on any advice you have for people who've binged, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll see you later, guys.